Despite the difficulties of the last few decades, football is still king when it comes to Nebraska athletics. We were concerned that our computers wouldn't know what to do at midnight on New Year's Eve, the last time the Huskers were in the national championship conversation. Since then, there have been a few ups and a whole lot of downs when it comes to Memorial Stadium. Until...
Welcome to Memorial Stadium, home of Nebraska volleyball.
Selling out a football stadium proves Nebraskans love their volleyball team. And with good reason. 4 national championships, 11 Final Four appearances, 13 conference championships. And that's just the John Cook era. But it isn't just volleyball that's been racking up wins. The University of Nebraska has turned itself into an athletic juggernaut. The 2023-2024 school year saw tremendous success for Husker athletics. It started here, on a warm night in late August, when the team on the field finally gave the fans something to cheer for. But they didn't just cheer because a Husker team won in Memorial Stadium. It was a celebration culminating decades of Nebraska volleyball greatness. Everything about the evening seemed to foreshadow a special season. And we were not disappointed. The Huskers breezed through pre-conference play, including a road win against Stanford that could have been a Final Four preview.
Andy Jackson in for the first time since 2008. Nebraska beats Stanford.
They would arrive at the middle of their season 18-0 with their biggest test yet, a home game against number 1 ranked Wisconsin, who also entered the game 18-0. Down Antelope Parkway from Bob Devaney, expectations were low for Husker Soccer after several disappointing seasons. Quietly, the Huskers went 9 games without a loss. They were held scoreless only once on a rainy day in Pennsylvania against then number 4 ranked Penn State, which they lost 1-0 in the final minutes of the game. It would be their only loss in conference play. The rejuvenated team was electric and high-scoring. Behind senior Eleanor Dale's record 28 goals, the team developed a habit of scoring late to seal crucial victories. They ended up with a top 25 ranking and their first Big Ten championship since 2013. Back at Devaney, the volleyball team had business to handle, hosting undefeated Wisconsin in a number 1 versus number 2 ranked matchup that might earn them a conference championship of their own. In front of an uncharacteristically raucous Nebraska crowd, the Huskers came out swinging. Looking to snap a 10-game losing streak to Wisconsin that dated back to 2017, the Huskers pounded the ball in the first set with a balanced attack and a relentless defense. The first set victory felt like a statement to every Wisconsin team that had beat Nebraska in the last 5 years. Not this time. And then, Wisconsin punched back. The enormous Wisconsin blockers prevented the Huskers from finding any rhythm offensively. After losing the second and third set, the Huskers turned scrappy. They found ways to dig every ball, long rally after exhaustingly long rally. Wisconsin needed only 1 point to win the set and the match, but freshman Harper Murray had other ideas. She would go on to serve 3 straight, forcing a 5th set. The teams traded runs in the 5th set before finally arriving at match point 14-13.
Match point number 2 for Nebraska. So often these don't live up to the billing. This has lived up to every bit of it. Franklin to serve. Murray did not get on top, and we've got extra points in a 1 versus 2.
Harper Murray missed hands, but freshman setter Bergen Riley convinces Coach Cook that she saw something.
Question of whether this was a net violation if Wisconsin came down on it. Oh!
Decision coming from Joseph Gustafson.
And for the first time in 5 years, Nebraska vanquished Wisconsin.
Nebraska played from behind. They were down 2-1, backs against the wall. With this young team, that tells you what you need to know.
Just like with the stadium match, listening to the team after this victory, there was a sense that they weren't finished yet.
There's never a doubt in any of our heads that we're going to lose. Even like after that second set, there was never a doubt that we were going to lose. We knew that we were going to find a way to come back.
2 weeks later, just like the soccer team, they would be tested again on the road against Penn State. In a dramatic reverse sweep in front of a packed Penn State crowd, the Huskers prevailed to make it 22-0. They would cruise the rest of the way, breaking attendance records nearly every away game, with their only loss of the regular season coming on the final day when they traveled to Wisconsin. The record would be good enough to secure another conference championship for Nebraska. At Barber-Hibner Stadium, some more good news. The Huskers earned a 5 seed in the NCAA tournament, meaning they would get a home game. Unexpected results meant they would end up hosting 3. Despite upper 30-degree game time temperatures, over 1,200 people packed Barber-Hibner Stadium for an attendance record as Nebraska hosted South Dakota State. Needing more late-game magic, the Huskers would not disappoint them. Next, the Huskers would welcome to Lincoln the Volunteers of Tennessee. A mishap by the goalie gave the Huskers an early lead. Tennessee equalized late in the second half, and it looked like we were headed for extra time. But with 1 minute remaining, the Huskers would not be denied.
All right, Husker Nation, we are going to the Sweet 16!
A much warmer day brought UC Irvine to Lincoln for a Sweet 16 matchup that felt like it was over before it even began. Three goals from superstar Eleanor Dale and some gutsy defending sent Nebraska to its first Elite Eight in 20 years. Earning the number 1 overall seed meant Nebraska would have the easiest road, but the biggest target on their back through the tournament. The size of the target wouldn't matter, as the Huskers arrived in the championship match having only dropped 1 set. Even fellow 1-seed Pitt couldn't punch a hole in the red wall. Nebraska seemed inevitable. While volleyball prepared for the championship match in Florida, soccer headed to California to take on Stanford in the Elite Eight. After an early Stanford goal, Nebraska locked down defensively, but were outmatched as they struggled to challenge or even maintain possession against a tough Stanford team. But just like they had so many times this season, Nebraska found the net in the final minutes of the game. Early in overtime, Stanford would score again, sending them to the Final Four and ending a magical season for the Cornhuskers. Back in Tampa, the volleyball team received a hero's welcome off the bus. The traveling Husker faithful would ultimately not help Nebraska win a national championship. They struggled all night, losing all 3 sets to Texas. In post-game interviews, the Huskers refused to call the season a failure. Instead, they talked about how proud they were to have played on this team. And Harper Murray accentuated that sentiment with a promise.
Do you feel like that?
Yeah, I think we're going to win 3 national championships the next 3 years, so.
Fuck yeah.
While soccer made an unprecedented run and volleyball tore through the tournament, Nebraska basketball got off to their best starts in years. With the addition of 2 transfer big men, the Huskers looked like a different team. Rank Mast added the skills of a traditional big man with the shooting of a power forward. Where Mast brought skills, Josiah Alec brought fire. Older brother of equally passionate middle blocker Rebecca Alec, Josiah brought an intensity to the floor that elevated the energy of the entire team. Returning staples Keisei Tominaga and Jawan Gary, with CJ Wilcher and Eli Rice providing sparks off the bench, the Huskers got off to their best start in decades. Pinnacle Bank Arena would prove to be an unpenetrable fortress. After an early season loss to in-state rival Creighton, the Huskers would not lose a home game for the rest of the season. Meanwhile, the women were putting together a run of their own. Winning 10 of their first 12, they also locked down PBA, only losing 3 games at home the whole season. An enormous feat considering who they share a conference with. This much success at home would mean many big moments throughout the season, but none bigger than a game against Iowa for the women and a matchup against number 1 ranked Purdue for the men. In front of a sold-out PBA crowd, the Huskers were unconscious from the three-point line, with nearly every man on the roster hitting a long ball. With some added old-school bully ball, the Huskers overwhelmed the best team in the country. And the threes didn't stop. With one of the only victories against a top-ranked opponent in program history, the fans would not be denied their moment to celebrate with the team. This win proved Nebraska was for real. They would cement that legacy a month later, beating another top 10 team, Wisconsin, this time getting tested to the very end. Down by 12 points late in the second half, the Huskers mounted a historic comeback. Once again, fans would not be denied their chance to celebrate with the team. There was no bigger star in college basketball in 2024 than Iowa's Caitlin Clark. Every away game was appointment viewing for the local team. Welcoming Iowa to Lincoln was no different.
I love her. She's like my idol, and I look up to her.
On Super Bowl Sunday, Nebraska was an afterthought in this game. Not just because Iowa had beat them by 19 points just 2 weeks prior, but also because Clark was nearing a significant milestone. Needing only 39 points to break the NCAA scoring record, it was within her grasp. And not a small amount of her fans traveled to see if she could pull it off. Husker faithful were counting on their own number 22 to disrupt the coronation. Big Ten Freshman of the Year Natalie Potts and her teammates would need everything they had to take down Iowa. The Huskers kept it close throughout the game, relentlessly keeping up with a high-powered Iowa offense. And Caitlin Clark did not disappoint. Several timely shots kept the Huskers within striking distance. Still, they were trailing by nearly 10 throughout the entire game. With both her passing and her shooting, Caitlin Clark was phenomenal. After 3 quarters, she needed only 8 points to break the record, and it seemed all but certain. But the Husker defense had other ideas. They frustrated Clark and stalled the Iowa offense. Holding one of the best shooters in college basketball history to 0 points in the entire fourth quarter. And then Nebraska's 22 started heating up. The Huskers mounted a heroic comeback, led by point guard Jazz Shelley, that brought them within 2 points. And then, a broken play led to Big Red magic. With 30 seconds to play, the Huskers led for the first time all day. And Husker faithful began to believe that anything was possible. The Hawkeyes got the shot they wanted, and then one more. But their offense had gone cold. And once again, the student section emptied into center court at PBA. A few weeks later, the two teams would get a rematch, this time for the Big Ten championship. And Nebraska proved that their win was not a fluke, forcing overtime in one of the most exciting conference championships of the year. Both the men's and women's teams were ready for the big dance. And then news dropped that shocked Husker Nation.
Big story of the day, Trev Alberts is leaving the University of Nebraska. He's accepted the same role at Texas A&M University.
Teachers, Nebraska.
With athletic director Trev Alberts leaving for Texas A&M just days before the tournament, fate would play a hand in the selection. Both teams would be playing Texas A&M in the first round of the tournament. They would split as the men struggled against the Aggies. The women prevailed before ultimately falling to Oregon State in the second round. Both coaches would receive contract extensions for their incredible season. While the whole state was paying attention to basketball, baseball and softball were just getting started. Excitement for the softball season was at an all-time high with the announcement that Jordy Ball, one of the best pitchers in the country, was transferring home to Nebraska. But the excitement would be short-lived.
And we begin with some breaking news in sports. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. A softball star is sidelined. The Huskers going to be without pitcher Jordy Ball for the entire 2024 season.
It was a crushing blow. Still, there would be plenty to celebrate for this Husker team, including another record broken. On the baseball field, the Huskers would win 20 of their first 25 games, behind National Pitcher of the Year Brett Sears. He and a powerful Husker offense would lead Nebraska all the way to the Big Ten championship game, where down 1 run late, Josh Caron hit his record 5th home run of the tournament. And in the top of the 9th, Gabe Swenson would double to take the lead. With Sears on the mound to close it out, the Huskers were Big Ten champions. And all this winning is just the surface. Sophomore Gina Jorgensen shattered records en route to being a first-team All-American. Track and field captured another Big Ten championship in their outdoor season. And the Huskers added 2 national championships in men's hurdles and women's javelin. And the Huskers were well represented at the Paris Olympics. Soccer, volleyball, baseball, track and field, gymnastics. 5 Big Ten Conference championships and a number 7 ranking in the Directors' Cup rounded out this incredible year. Nabbing top-rated quarterback recruit Dylan Raiola from Georgia might even mean King football's making a comeback. The records, the moments, the wins. The 23-24 school year had it all for Nebraska athletics. On the field, the court, and in the pool, the Huskers gave fans plenty of reasons to chant.